Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Child Nutrition Program's Idaho Rebounds Funding GRA Drawdown Training. Presenting today will be Colleen Philmar, Child Nutrition Director, Program Director, and Erin McCoy, SDE Senior Financial Specialist. Also participating will be Melissa Cook, CNP's Financial Specialist, and myself, Sean Charters, Program Specialist for Child Nutrition Programs. At this time, we'll turn it over to Colleen.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us during our training presentation for the $2 million Child Nutrition Rebound Money for Idaho. So this webinar is being recorded today, and it will be put into ADA format and then added to the State Department of Education's YouTube. So that will probably be in the next day or so. We will also send out the PowerPoint to everyone that we invited through the broadcast email. So as we are going through this webinar today, please submit any questions that you have through the chat function, and Erin and I will address those questions at the end of the webinar. So we always want to be reminded of Superintendent Ybarra's strategic plan, and the first is all Idaho students persevere in life and are ready for college and careers. The second one is all education stakeholders in Idaho are mutually responsible for accountability and student progress. And third, Idaho attracts and retains great teachers and leaders. So the purpose of this webinar is to share the important information about the release of the $2 million for child nutrition programs through the Idaho Rebounds coronavirus relief funds. So these funds are allocated to public schools who, two things, served meals from April 1st through May 31st of this year. The reason for those 2 months is in child nutrition, those were the only 2 months that we had that were 100% COVID months. So again, for the period of time for reimbursement with this money is from April 1st to May 31st. And then secondly, the incurred unbudgeted expenditures associated with serving meals during COVID-19 related to school closure. So we have identified 130 LEAs that are eligible for these funds. The range of funding went from $118 to slightly over $195,000. So again, the performance period is April 1st through May 31st. And the reason for that, again, is that these were the months that were based on 100% of COVID-19 related meals. And we do want to note that some of you have probably sat in other trainings from the Department of Ed with these rebounds money, and the dates are not the same for different program areas. Okay, the use of funds, all three of these requirements must be met for an expenditure to qualify under this funding. The expenditure is necessary and was incurred due to a public health emergency with respect to COVID-19. The expenditure is not accounted for in the LEA's budget, most recently approved on March 27th of this year. And the reason for that is the date of the enactment of the CARES Act. And then thirdly, the expenditure occurred during the period that we've already brought up, April 1st through the end of May 31st. So we wanted to go in a little bit more detail as far as the three areas that we just discussed that are mandatory. You have to meet all three of those to be eligible. And when we give you this PowerPoint, you will see all of the wording, but for today's purposes, we are just going to highlight the areas that are underlined because we feel that pertains most to this pot of money. So first of all, under the number one, the expenditures must be used for actions taken to respond to a public health emergency. The revenue replacement is not permissible use of fund payments. Revenue replacement is not a permissible use of fund payments, and specifies that expenditures using fund payments must be necessary. So those are all under number one. So under number 2, the CARES Act also requires that payments be used only to cover costs that were not accounted for in the budget most recently approved as of March 27th of this year. So for an example, if you estimated $1,000 for general cleaning and sanitizing supplies, which are included in your approved budget, these funds cannot be used to cover this expenditure. But on the other hand, if in May you purchase additional cleaning supplies for $700 to support increased cleaning due to COVID, these expenditures can be reimbursed through these funds. And then the last area, again, that is a requirement is the performance period is April 1st through May 31st. So in summary, the Child Nutrition Idaho Rebounds funds are for unbudgeted expenditures associated with serving meals during COVID-19 related to the school closures. Expenses submitted under another fund source are not eligible under these dollars. And funding requirements can be found on the GRA award letter. Award letters are sent out when funding is approved and can be recovered under each LEA's profile in GRA. And Aaron McCoy from accounting will be talking about the GRA system. And again, all 3 of these requirements must be met for expenditures to qualify. Okay, right now, Aaron is going to be taking over. Just give us a few minutes as we move the mouse over to his area.
Good morning, everybody. So we're going to briefly cover the GRA process and how to draw down these funds. A lot of you guys have already been in a couple of these trainings with the non-ESSERF funds and the technology funds, so this will be a little repetitive, but for those who haven't, we'll go through here and let me know if you have any questions. So there's no changes to the current login process. All the functionality will remain the same. So if you've been in the GRA before, it'll be the same process for requesting dollars. And then how the dollars are located in the GRA, you're going to see a new grant titled Child Nutrition Idaho Rebounds Coronavirus Relief Fund. The funds were released last night, so if you go in there right now, you should have access to those dollars. So requests, please submit requests as you would with the traditional request. No changes on that end. And then costs must be incurred between April 1st through May 31st, 2020. So this would be the biggest change to what you have previously experienced.
They're saying you're low enough. I'm wondering if you could move closer to that.
Okay, apologize about that. I moved a little closer to the screen, so hopefully you can hear me a little better. So request, please submit request as you would as a traditional request. And costs must be incurred between April 1st through May 31st. And then the only change that you'll see is the required documentation. So there is a Idaho Rebounds reimbursement template that is required to be submitted with each request. And we'll cover that later in the presentation, but we ask that that be attached to each request in the GRA. And then please report expenditures and Fund 290 as you would with your typical child nutrition expenditures, and then revenue will be coded to CNP programs. So documentation, you do not need to submit any backup documentation for any general expenditures. The only thing that is required is the Excel template. And then the only exception to this rule is for payroll expenses. If you do submit requests for any payroll expenses, you are required to submit either a general ledger, some sort of payroll documentation showing what those expenses were. And then we're going to cover the template briefly. And this, again, this is required for all requests. Please do not modify or alter the file. This file is uploaded into transparency.idaho.gov. So the controller's office is asking this not be changed for them to allow them to easily upload this document. And then as you submit requests, a link to the file will be made available on each request. And you'll see it here. It'll be right above the expenditure period. And this is what the template looks like. If you filled it out, you're probably getting pretty familiar. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, we'll briefly cover this. So columns C through K are required. You'll initially select what school district you're with. There's a drop-down box under type of organization. You're going to see city, state, local government. So just click school district. And then your transaction date. And then you'll select your district. So we preloaded everybody's district in there. If you do not see it, let us know and we'll get it in there, but I believe everybody is uploaded into this file. And then columns E through G require all your accounting information. We do realize that this spreadsheet is geared towards more the state level accounting. So this may not align with how you code your accounting transactions. So really focus on the descriptions and try to match what's preloaded into the spreadsheet with the information you have. Now the accounting codes are not the IFARMS codes. So they probably won't reference over there, but just really focus on the descriptions and try to match it with your transactions the best you can. And then here's the second half of the template. So column H is just a kind of a brief description, more of just a header line. And then column I is going to be your detailed justification of the expense. So please add any language that will help us, that'll help provide some detail and justify the expense when we send these over to the controller's office. And then column J is just the vendor that you paid. And then column K will be the amount. And then if you want to read some more detail about the spreadsheet, here's a link to the State Controller's Office website, and they have some greater detail on each one of these cells. And then as you complete these templates, this is just a screenshot of where to upload those in the GRA. So at the very bottom of each request, there's an Add Documents button. So you can simply just save this file to your desktop and then just add the document to each request. Any request submitted without a completed file will be returned, or if it's not attached or incomplete, we'll return them asking that this file be attached or updated. And then here's kind of the process of how these dollars work. So after we receive a request and it is approved, we will pay out the GRA's process twice a month on the 11th and 25th. And then what we do is we gather those Excel spreadsheets, we submit them to the SEO for reimbursement. They have a review team that reviews each request. They'll review them for final approval. If they can't come to a decision, there's a secondary level on their end called the Coronavirus Financial Advisory Committee, CFAC. They will review them for reasonability and make sure they agree to the 3 criteria that Colleen has stated earlier in the PowerPoint. If for any reason they deem an expense unallowable, there is a potential that we will have to go back to the LEA and ask for reimbursement back to the department. Now we hope to try to mitigate that as best we can. So we may come back to you asking for additional information, and that's just simply to help justify the expense to the controller's office. And then just a last reminder here, the Child Nutrition Idaho Rebounds funds are for unbudgeted expenditures associated with serving meals. So we have a bunch of different buckets of money out there from the department here. So really focus on what your transactions are and what is the appropriate bucket to submit those transactions under. And if you've submitted those expenses under another source that we made available or another grant that's out there, please do not submit that. So basically no double dipping, and try to keep these under one funding source. And then again, expenditures must meet all three of the requirements to be allowable. And then if you run into any issues along the way, any kind of GRA system issues, please reach out to me, or you can email the GRA administrator's mailbox, and we'll gladly get back to you as soon as possible. And then any kind of funding issues, you can reach out to Sean Charters or Melissa Cook, and their contact information is on the screen. And then lastly, here's a couple of links. These links provide some greater detail around the structure of the dollars, what the requirements are that are set forth on the Fed level and also by the State Controller's Office. So if you have any free time and need to read up about it, here's some for you.
Okay, so at this point, this is a list. We just wanted to put the contact information in for all child nutrition staff members. So again, Erin did a great job and showed the contact people if you do have questions, but this is just in case, you know, we get really busy during COVID. If you have a hard time getting a hold of Melissa or Sean in child nutrition, you can certainly contact me or one of the other team members. So at this point, I'm going to quit sharing my screen, and we are going to open the chat and see. It doesn't look like right now we have any questions. So that is great. I hopefully that means that we've answered.
I'm trying to find it, Sheila. I clicked on it and when I got in here, but now it's gone.
Who did the message come from?
I thought it was Sean Charters.
And I'm searching all over now for that. And on my calendar, it just has the meeting and the time.
Yeah, that's what mine had, and I found an email for it, clicked on that, and now it's gone.
Who's the email?
Sean Charters, and I'm trying to find it.
So I'm sorry, I could not hear what someone was saying, but I am seeing a couple of questions now. Are you hearing me okay? Will somebody kind of raise their hand and wave at me if you can hear me okay?
I can hear you, Colleen.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question we have, so are pre-packaged foods accepted for expenses? Again, what we need you to do is go back and look at the requirements that are mandated to receive this money. Now, if these prepackaged foods were something that had not been budgeted for, you wouldn't have used them except for COVID, then I would say under that case, yes. Nothing is really a blanket yes or a blanket, well, maybe a blanket no, but not necessarily a given yes. You're gonna wanna really look at those three different areas. And was it budgeted for before COVID? Was it an unexpected expense? And if it was, then chances are you can put it in for this. If you have any questions or something more specific you want to ask us, just please let us know. The next question we got, if additional food items were purchased outside of the budget specifically for grab-and-go meals, are those items covered under this expense? Again, and I think that goes very much with the first question, and if it was something that was not on your radar, not on your budget, not something that you would have done until the pandemic came around, and some schools were serving way more foods than they would have ever served before. So if that's the case in your district, it was something way above board that you wouldn't have before, then yes, these are funds for those very purposes. But again, make sure that they fall under all of those different requirements that we gave you in the PowerPoint. Okay, next question. I received a letter with an amount award. Where did that number come from? That's a great question. So what happened, it seems like it was a super long time ago, but it was probably towards the end of March, beginning of April, that accounting and the Department of Ed and child nutrition and the Department of Ed looked at past history. We looked at forecasting what was going on at that very moment and came up with a formula of $2 million. And it actually is, something that we hope covers for the most part. We were happy that we got all of it. We did not know if we would get everything that we asked for, but we did do a lot of number history and forecasting to come up with that number. And again, the way your particular number came up is we took the $2 million, we took the month of April and May, we looked at all meals, not just lunch, but we looked at all meals because some districts were serving a lot of different meals, and then we did a weighted average. And Aaron is the one who did that spreadsheet. He did a wonderful job. And so by doing a weighted average and all meals, we felt that it was very fair. And again, it was the 2 months that were 100% COVID. And then those figures were taken by the 2 million and divided out. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the nice compliment. The next one is, this might be a silly question, no silly questions, but can we allocate more than was allocated to us? Is the amount final? Right now, the amount is final unless we get additional funding. Would you agree with that, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, at this point, we don't know of any additional funding, but we all know how things are just changing daily under the pandemic. So as of right now, this is it. But again, just, continue to look at your broadcast emails and everything that we send out in case that changes. Okay, to clarify, if the invoice is before May 31st, but we paid in June, can we still request for reimbursement? If it is something that happened in one of those 2 months, April or May, then you can include it. Okay, and hopefully getting these questions answered. If not, please contact me. Okay, next question. Would unanticipated increase in food and supply costs due to the supply chain break be eligible? They passed us to a distributor, backup distributor that did not honor bid costs. Okay. So again, I think that what you're going to have to make sure and do, Aaron did a really good job of explaining what it is that you need to send in to us. But my understanding is that if an auditor comes out, they will look at more detail at your district, when the state auditor comes out. So what you would want to do in that case is make sure and show what your original bid was, what the bid cost was, and then through COVID of these 2 months, how that price really increased. And I would say the difference of the cost before and then what you had to pay is what you would probably want to submit. Does that sound good to you, Aaron? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, where is the template located?
So the template's located on each request, and then we'll also email Alex. We're going to send a follow-up, just a summary of what was covered today. So we'll email that out along with that. But as you go into the GRA to request the dollars, you'll see it on each request.
Okay, the next question is, do these funds get tracked within the school lunch program, the 290 fund, or is it another fund number? No, 290 is it. Make sure that when these funds come in, and that's the reason we invited your business managers, but we know everyone is really busy. So if your business manager was unable to be on this training, please share with him or her that this money, this pot of money is specific for child nutrition under the 290. So great question. Okay, next. When I open the window to create a reimbursement request, I'm not seeing a link to the template. Where do we find a link to the Excel template?
So I'll have to get back to that because it should be there. I'll have to talk to our GRA developer and make sure that that function was added. But again, I'll take a look into that and make sure that's put out there.
So we'll make sure that that is there. And then if you're still not seeing it, you might want to contact one of us, probably more Aaron, I guess, on that question, in case there's just something going on at the specific district, if other people are seeing it and you are not.
Aaron, this is Brian and Jerome. I am looking at it right now, and it's not, the link is not there.
Okay, so these are uploaded in special ways. So I'll talk to the developer today. So it should be updated within a couple hours. So I apologize about that. Not have it available.
Thank you so much for that input, because we certainly want you to be able to have that. So, Okay, next question. When do we have to have the template submitted? It's a great question. I mean, I would say sooner than later. The one advantage that we have in child nutrition is this has already occurred. In some of the other program areas, maybe the performance period, is still going on. So you should have all those invoices. I would start gathering them and put them in. It does expire the end of the calendar year, but we would prefer to have it in much sooner than that to help those along that are having a hard, maybe some challenges getting the information in. We want to help you to get any sort of reimbursement back that is coming your way. So the answer, I guess, to that would be, we know you're real busy right now, but the sooner the better. When will we be able to find this presentation after today? So what we will do is I'll have Sean send the PowerPoint out to everyone that she sent the invite to. So you'll see the PowerPoint right away. But then Sean is also recording this presentation, and we will end up getting it on the Idaho State Department of Ed YouTube. So you'll be able to see the entire training again, but we'll get the PowerPoint out to you today.
And along with the PowerPoint, also send the template out so that way, if there's a delay in getting it posted on the GRA, you'll have access to it immediately.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Aaron. And yeah, it looks like we got another comment that the template is not located. So yeah, we will make sure and get that to you right away, and you are welcome. Okay, were we all supposed to get a letter with an award amount? If you are eligible for these funds, you should have gotten one. And so again, to be eligible, you needed to be serving meals in April and May, and then the other areas that we mentioned too. So everyone should have. If you feel that you should have been on that, gotten the award letter, and you did not, then please let us know.
And it's also possible that the award letter went to another user at your district. So the GRA only sent it to current GRA users. So if you're not currently set up, or and somebody else at your district, they probably received it, and you may not have seen it.
And also, I believe that Sean got a few kickbacks with people that no longer worked in a district. So you might want to make sure that all those emails and change of staffing are updated so it does get to your district. Okay, next question. With this being last year's expenditures, how are we to handle the accounting for this? And do you know the answer to that? I'm not sure I know the detail of the question there. So this is it's still in the federal fiscal year. I'm guessing that this question is headed more towards the state year. With this being a USDA federal funds, we're still within the federal fiscal year. So if there's something that we're just kind of missing there, you might want to give us a call. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I would tell you, Denise, just give us a call or email us directly. We can try to respond back to you best we can.
This is Dale Lynn from the Melba School District.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a business manager, I'll tell you that my auditor is going to be a little excited that these funds, we're now finding out about them, because I've already closed out my financial year. So a lot of people are going to have to talk to their business managers and their auditors to find out if they're going to need to book this as a receivable. Typically, if the revenue is going to help for the expense, it has to be noted in the year of the financial year. So I know that the federal years are a little different than how districts work, but I would really encourage food service people to talk to their business managers if they aren't on this call, and possibly their auditors, because this will cause a small hiccup in that kind of accounting just for the fiscal years.
That is excellent input. Thank you so much for that. I do know that when we submitted this request, I can't remember the exact date that we got it, but we could, we did not know for some time our 2 million request would even be approved. And so again, we were very happy that it was. But I do like your input about going to your business manager. You know, it's definitely a strong partnership that we need between child nutrition and the fiscal side of things. And so thank you for that. And the auditors are well aware of this because we have been working with the state auditors, so they are aware of the situation too. And again, there's a question, why is the expenditures only from April to May? That's a really super good question. The reason for that is that those 2 months were the only 2 months that were 100% COVID for the entire state. So you have to remember that we started March and ended March in a very different way. We did not start March with COVID, but we ended March with COVID. So March was not a complete COVID month. Then April and May was, and then when June rolled around is when in the USDA child nutrition programs, a lot of sponsors started running summer food, which is not under the unanticipated program. So that was not considered COVID. So to make sure that we had these funds be very clean with the auditors, we felt the best way to do it was to have months that were 100% COVID. And that is the reason for those 2 months. Okay, I want to make sure I answer this entire question. So let me read it. And again, why is only for the expenditures for April and May? I believe we answered that. I believe most districts have closed out fiscal year and have undergone the required audit. This time frame may cause headaches for business managers and accounts because I believe it needs to be stated as a receivable. Grant fiscal year and financial fiscal year are very different. Again, I think that the person who submitted this also expressed that verbally, and I think that is really important and good information. So thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, next question. If additional funds were spent buying ready-to-serve items, can that additional cost be recovered? We purchased ready-to-serve items because much of our staff took COVID leave to care for their children. We wanted to ensure service was not interrupted. I would again look at what the requirements are. Was it something that was budgeted for? If you would have not normally purchased this kind of item, because a lot of districts did change what they were purchasing because they were doing the grab and go. And so things became very, very different. In fact, I even heard from a food distributor that they were not equipped to and didn't have the inventory for as much grab and go because it wasn't on their radar that they would even need that because of course no one knew about COVID. So if it's something that was not budgeted for and it was within this time frame and you can show that it's something that I did not serve the students before, then I would say yes. So again, you're going to want to look at those different requirements, but I do know when I went out to visit some of these sites, they were serving food that they typically would not have served had schools still been open. Okay, good input. Somebody says here that the award letter was sent to the business manager. So that's good to know. So if you're a district and you think you have not gotten the letter, I really like Erin's input. Kind of ask around the district and see if someone else got it. And someone else that says business manager got it. Good, I love it. You know, that's again, the strong partnership that we need. If we were unable to spend the full awarded amount, where will the remainder of the funds go? And you know what, I think we'll have to get back with you on that. I'm not sure we know the answer to that. It could very likely go back to the federal government who gave it to us to start with, but I don't know for sure. We would need to look into that. We're hopeful that those of you that really need this money will put in the information for it. And I know that Erin and the accounting team really tried to make it as seamless as possible and as easy for you as possible so you can get these funds. Again, remembering that you want to make sure and have this information available when your state auditor comes in to back up what it is that you've submitted to us. And another question, if we have already accounted for many of the food service COVID expenses from funds 252 CARES, can we adjust that and get these funds instead? I know you can't do it under both. Can they adjust it?
Yeah, it depends on if you've already requested those under the CARES funding. If you've already requested them, then it kind of gets a little complicated because you have to return those dollars back to us and then make your adjustment over to the other fund. But if you have not requested reimbursement under any funding source, then you could make the adjustment and then request those reimbursement under this fund.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. So at this time, it looks like that is the last question that we have. So I'm just going to kind of summarize it here, and during that time, see if we get any more questions. Again, this training will be out on the Idaho State Department of Ed YouTube. It might take a few days because we make them ADA, and the PowerPoint will get emailed to you today. And for being eligible, make sure and look at that PowerPoint and make sure that you qualify under all three of the different areas that we shared with you. So do you have any other? Okay.
Yeah, no, we'll just get the GRA updated, so I apologize about that. But the dollars should be available and you can start submitting requests once we get the template to you.
Thank you. And all four of us really want to tell you how much we appreciate and the hard work that you are doing. We know that this time is just very unique. And some of us have worked at the school district level before, and we know how this time of year is really busy anyway. So thank you so much for everything that you do out there on the front line. We really appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you. And call or email us if you have a question.